Hi everyone, it's Todd Milewski from the State Journal here at the Kohl Center after a 5-1 Badgers loss to number 4 Michigan on Friday night, January 28th. It's a pretty humbling loss, I think you could say, for the Badgers, who, just 2 weeks ago were feeling pretty good about themselves and where they had turned the season in a lot of ways. They're scoring goals, they were getting some good performances out in front of the net, and they were controlling lots of parts of the ice, and now it feels like that's an awful long way away, the way the Badgers have been playing last week at Penn State and here tonight against Michigan. And if you're going to come into a game against the number 4 team in the country, the number 1 team in the pairwise, the first place team in your conference, and basically let them skate around your zone for minutes at a time with the puck, that's a bad way of thinking you're going to come out with any sort of success, because it definitely did not happen for the Badgers tonight. Michigan was all over them from the start, kept it up pretty much the whole night, and the Badgers did not offer much in the way of pushback. They got to within a goal in the second period when Carson Bantle scored his third goal in the last 2 games, a power play goal, cut it to 2-1. But 2.5 minutes later, Luke Morgan scored on a rebound to make it 3-1, and off Michigan went again from there. Ends up 5-1, shots on goal 37-27. Jared Moe pulled from his 3rd straight start. I can't remember that happening before, where it's been the same person pulled from 3 straight starts. I asked Tony Granato after the game whether he's coming back with Moe for Saturday's game. He said didn't know that yet, hadn't talked to the coaches or the goalies. I don't know if he didn't know or just wasn't really willing to say 15-20 minutes after the game tonight where he's going. That number 1 goalie spot has been Moe's, but this last stretch here has shaken that. I would think a little bit, and you have to wonder, and I did ask Jared Moe where his confidence is, and he said it's tough to be pulled from 3 games in a row, even if you know that it's not necessarily because of you. It's meant to be a wake-up call to the team, but that obviously doesn't feel good, and he said he's trying to stay in it, stay mentally ready for everything. And he knows he hasn't been, like he said tonight, he hasn't given up any goals from the red line or anything like that, but I think it's pretty obvious he needs to tighten up his game, as does everyone in front of him in a lot of ways. Michigan is a dangerous team, and they showed that tonight without 2 of their better players, Owen Power and Kent Johnson, who are away at Canada's Olympic camp. They showed their depth and that they can get contributions from a lot of people in that lineup, and that's going to make them difficult to deal with. Now, they lose 2 more players after this week, Brisson and Beniers, to the U.S. Olympic team. Chips away a little bit more at that depth, so it's going to be fascinating to see how Michigan and Minnesota are going to handle these few weeks without those key players, but it really does open things up potentially in the Big Ten for the likes of Notre Dame and Ohio State. But getting a little bit off topic of tonight's game here tonight, it's talking to Tarek Baker after the game, he was, I think annoyed is the right word, that the Badgers are in game 27, and this is what I wrote about in the game story, that in game 27, it's coming out and competing is not necessarily a given, and that is a bad sign for a lot of things with the Badgers right now, that they can't even count on that, and that was their difficulty here Friday night, is that the way they describe it, they didn't have enough players who were willing to get their noses dirty and work for what they had to do. I go back to when Wisconsin played a just about perfect game against Michigan in October to win in Ann Arbor. That's when you're playing a team that's this talented, that's the way you have to do it. Get right in their face. Be hard around your net and their net. I remember Tarek Baker scoring a goal because he went hard to the net and caused some trouble and caused a turnover and slid the puck in. Those are the kind of things that you didn't see from the Badgers tonight. And I would be, if they don't come out with some pretty good fire on Saturday, I think that'll tell us an awful lot about where this team is at. Let's be honest about that. Not going to say that it's going to be easy against a team like Michigan, but they need to make it a lot harder for Michigan than it was tonight. Getting to some of the comments here. Tanner says Michigan played great. They did. Badger passing was awful. Did Tony talk about passing or shooting in his postgame? He did not, but I did notice, much like last week at Penn State, which I'm going off of the TV, the web stream that I saw last week because I wasn't there, but passing seemed like it was getting better to me, and I don't have any metrics to back that up. That's just what it seemed like to me. In the previous weeks, they had been connecting on more passes, especially getting the puck out of their own zone. Power play passes had been better. It seems like that's taken a step back in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, different opponents play teams differently, force you to do things that you don't want to do, and that's something that teams have to work through. I don't think the Badgers have done a very good job of that in the last 2 weeks. What was the highlight of the night, Mike asks. Well, I got to talk to Chris Vosters and Paul Caponigri, who are sitting next to me. They're doing the BTN game Saturday night, and they showed up and sat down next to me at the press table, and maybe that, for me, was the highlight of the night. I don't know. Tanner says, glad to see the students actually came out tonight. That was nice. It was a good turnout for the first game back in the second semester here with students back. Seemed like a decent atmosphere was there for the taking for the Badgers. Didn't give them an awful lot to cheer about. I should mention Dominic Mersch was ejected from the game in the second period for head contact. I don't believe that he nothing automatic about him for tomorrow. He would be back in the lineup unless he gets supplementary discipline from the league. Don't know about that. So we'll keep an eye on that tomorrow. Brent asked about Mo getting pulled 3 games in a row. I did talk about that, but yeah, that's a definite concern, I think, for a lot of the way that things have been put together here. Mo has been the guy that they've needed to rely on, and difficulties in the last 2 games have not been helpful. Let's put it that way. Not all his fault, definitely, but it does make it more difficult. Brian says, today several UW coaches received extensions. What is the Granato contract? Currently he has a 5-year contract through, well, this is year 1 of 5, so you can do the math there. And so you can also then do the math at a buyout at 250, or I'd have to look up exactly what his salary is per season, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not sure that UW would be interested in moving him out right now. The coaching extensions that were done today, those are all for fall sports, just so you know. They handle those by season. And so winter sports come in April or May, and then spring sports are done in June. How are the Big Ten tournament pictures looking? Well, you've got Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, Notre Dame creeping a little bit into that area at the top the last few weeks, but maybe not after tonight against Minnesota. Minnesota with a pretty comfortable victory at Notre Dame. So Minnesota and Michigan and Ohio State, I think, are pulling ahead into the top tier. And this is just going off of memory. I don't have standings in front of me, but then you've got Notre Dame. Then you've got bang, bang, bang. Penn State pulling ahead of Wisconsin tonight with a shootout victory or overtime victory. I think shootout victory. Wisconsin and Minnesota, I think, are going to be fighting for 6th and 7th. So that's the how it looks right there. Chris and Paul are the best. Craig says yes, they are. They're very good. Eric, Ian Perrin made an observation on the postgame radio that his team does much better in games where most of the action is 5-on-5. That seems fair, yeah. Games with so many power plays / kills sets them off kilter. Do you agree with that assessment? Yeah, I think so. I think that, well, look, when they play the way they want to play, that makes it a lot easier for them. And I think that's built in as a 5-on-5 kind of thing for them. Power play hasn't been great, better than it was at the start of the season. Penalty kill has, well, it was pretty bad last weekend, had been better a few weeks before that. Yeah, special teams is not getting it done for them this season. And so I think they have to be 5-on-5. They have to avoid the undisciplined penalties. And the longer they can get into a game that way, the better for them. But when they don't show up and compete like tonight, it's going to be hard for them, whatever the situation is in the game. I see you guys have already discussed the stanchion coming out in the third period. Well done by everyone involved there to get that fixed quickly. We didn't need any more delays tonight after there were 3 plays reviewed, and at least it wasn't the 8 o'clock start when all of that happened. Most disappointing, well, I'm going to wrap it up on this one because it's late and I'm tired. Most disappointing part of the season for you at this point? Well, I don't personally, I try not to make this a cop-out. I don't feel disappointed by anything. That's not my job. My job is to tell you what's going on here. And I try to do that as fairly and as unbiasedly, that's probably wrong, but without bias as possible. So I don't know if I can fairly answer if there's been anything disappointing to me. I think the players will tell you that the disappointing thing is that they've been able to play really well in some games, beat Michigan, beat Minnesota, the Milwaukee tournament, but that hasn't been there the whole season. And there are nights where they just are seemingly disinterested, and as impossible as that is, I wouldn't think that's actually how any of them are showing up to games, but it looks that way sometimes. So I think that's how players would answer that, and probably the coaching staff too. It's just the inconsistency of seeing how a team can be good but not doing it often enough to make the season a success. That's probably where that would end up. So that's it. And Eric says I assured us 4+ reviews for tomorrow night's game. Yeah, so be it. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Thanks for joining me here tonight. Once again, 5-1 Michigan with a victory over the Badgers. 8 p.m. start on Saturday. We'll be back after that one. Make sure you check out the game story and the game story on the women's game, a 1-1 tie at St. Cloud and a shootout victory for the Badgers. Make sure to check out those stories on madison.com and in the Saturday State Journal. Also, if you didn't see it, a story out there on the website about the water bottle game. 40th anniversary is Sunday, and I caught up with 9 or 10 people who were there in various parts of the building to get their memories, and a lot of interesting stuff in that story. So check that out. I think that's going to be in Sunday's paper, but it's already up on the web. So thanks for joining me again. Signing off from the Kohl Center tonight. We'll catch you later. Take care, everyone.